Hi there, I'm Danny Flexen. Welcome to the latest edition of SecondsOut ReFLEXions. We're here Mondays, 4:30 PM to look back on the boxing action of the weekend. Although on the quiet weekends, like the one just gone, we tend to reflect on some broader topics. And this week, I haven't really had a chance to do this yet. We put out a breaking news alert about it, but we haven't really looked at it in any great detail. And that's the Matchroom and Sky Sports autumn schedule, the 4 shows that were announced last week. And having a look over them. The highlight, of course, Dillian Whyte, Alexander Povetkin 2, which we'll talk about in due course. But there's 2 other Matchroom shows before that, and even earlier than that, and this is something we'll be previewing on ReFLEXions on Thursday, is the WBSS Cruiserweight final between Mairis Briedis and Uniel Dorticos. Sky have just picked this up, which is great news for hardcore boxing fans all around. I think, I did a recent interview with Adam Smith, the full cut's going out this week. And you'll see in that he says one of the reasons they picked that up and not some of the US shows like the Charlos next week, or at least I think that's going to be on Fight.tv now, is that it's still on that crucial for them UK time around 10:15 for the main event, which the WBSS, which is coming from Germany, will be. So you can kind of understand that. But it's going to be a great fight regardless. I think the way the WBSS is set up, even though it's going to be in a TV studio, there'll be certain modifications this time. The way it's set up, the ring entrances, the video packages, the audio, everything that they do around it makes it feel like a special event. And then you've got the fight itself. They've both worked hard to get here, battled through. Obviously, there was a contentious decision, or contentious stoppage rather, in the semi-final win for Briedis against Glavotsky, who will later this year fight for a vacant world title against Lawrence Okoli. Hopefully later this year, I should say. We don't know what's going to happen in terms of lockdowns and so on. And then controversy aside, you're looking at Briedis, very good technical boxer, good mover, nice work rate, and can punch a bit as well. But robbed of his usual vociferous home support out in Latvia. No crowds at the moment, of course. Plus, it's taking place in Germany anyway. So not in Latvia as was originally intended, which I think may be a bit of a blow for him, against Dorticos, who's a huge puncher, and also can box a bit as well. He's Cuban, product of their amateur system, but more of a seek and destroy fighter, more so than a kind of careful mover. But he's got that big shot. He can counter effectively as well. And it might be a bit of a chess match early on. I don't want to go too much into the preview, but it's definitely an exciting fight for the Sky Sports subscribers. They follow that up with a couple of smaller shows. One is Joshua Buatsi making his long-awaited return to the ring at light heavyweight against the unbeaten but largely untested, and I think we could say Buatsi's largely untested, but this guy is even more untested, and that's Marko Kalic of Croatia. Very good amateur, but stayed amateur for an incredibly long time. You'll see an interview of him on the channel probably before you watch this, or it'll certainly be out before you watch this. I don't know if you're going to watch it or not. Where he talks about why he stayed amateur for so long. He's very confident going into the fight. He's a counter puncher. He's got good skills, good boxing IQ. But going up against Buatsi, who just seems to be a bit more poised and ruthless and has that composure and that aggression, that natural finishing instinct as well. But he has been out the ring for a while. No crowd in attendance, which is going to mess with everyone, I guess. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. John Harding Jr. against Linus Udofia, for the English middleweight title on the card is a really interesting fight, as is the savage Alan Babbage getting his first real test as a pro against Niall Kennedy. My interview with Niall went up last night, where he talks about working as a policeman in Ireland at the same time as training as a professional boxer, why he's fought most of his professional career in the US, and his battles with depression and mental health issues in the past, which I know some people have already messaged him saying they found really inspiring. So that's a really good heavyweight fight as well. So I think that's one where the undercard might prove to be better than the main event. Then you've got October the 17th in Newcastle, which originally I wasn't particularly excited about. And I really like watching Lewis Ritson box, even though he's been dodging my attempts for an interview for at least 3 months. We're actually, quite good friends and stuff. I just don't think he likes doing interviews particularly. I hope, anyway. But yeah, so he was going in the main event as he waits for a world title shot, hopefully up at 140 pounds. against Miguel Vazquez. Now, no one looks good against Miguel Vazquez, former world champion down at lightweight. in the veteran stage of his career now. He's awkward, he's rangy, bit of a spoiler. Most people felt he was unlucky not to get the decision over O'Hara Davis in a previous visit to this country. So it'll be a tough fight for Ritson, but it probably won't be pleasing on the eye either. And when we have seen Ritson struggle in the past, it has been against awkward fighters that take him rounds, and Vazquez is certainly durable. So I'm not particularly excited about the main event, I have to say. On the undercard, though, you've got Joe Laws, who's always in a good fight, but more importantly, female world title fight, which seems to be in vogue at the moment. Vacant WBO middleweight title given up by Clarissa Shields. Her promotional stablemate and former opponent, Hannah Rankin, will fight for it against Savannah Marshall, former world amateur champion, Team GB rep, unbeaten pro, big puncher, going down to middleweight for the first time, I believe. So it's kind of her amateur pedigree and power against the greater professional experience and seasoning and just general ability of Hannah Rankin. It's an excellent fight, excellent crossroads fight, and for a world title, fully deserved. Probably should be the main event, in fairness, but Lewis Ritson's obviously the bigger name, and if it was still in Newcastle, we don't know what's going to happen venue-wise. He'd be the big ticket seller, the big local star as well. But, you know, in terms of quality of the match and what's at stake, the main event really probably should be Hannah Rankin and Savannah Marshall. But it depends how Sky want to market it, I guess. And then the fourth of the shows that were announced, the biggest one, the only box office out of the four, is Dillian Whyte's quick turnaround rematch, 91 days, with the man who separated him temporarily from his senses, Alexander Povetkin, with that massive left uppercut, which has to be the shot of the year, even though we've still got, 3 months left. Maybe that's another challenge for Dillian Whyte, you know, dispatching his nemesis, former conqueror, with such a good shot that it displaces or replaces, supplants, I'm just showing off now, his former conqueror in the best punch of the year or best knockout of the year stakes. I do worry for Whyte going back in so soon, not so much physically, more mentally, getting over the shock of that defeat and the manner of it. But if he feels ready and the close team around him feels he's ready, who am I to argue? Povetkin will only be boosted in confidence, and I think he'll also benefit from being out again so quickly. He only did, obviously, 4 and a bit rounds, so he's not going to be tired. He'll have gone pretty much straight back into training camp, and buoyed by the confidence of such a crushing victory quite late on in his career. I think he'll come in full of confidence, no crowd as far as we know at the moment, although it's not until November 21st, so things could change by then. But behind closed doors, once again, I think that suits Povetkin because Whyte in the UK would be a big crowd favourite. And it's just a really intriguing fight. I was pilloried in some quarters for saying the first fight, or the first show rather, I didn't feel was pay-per-view worthy at £20. I said I thought I would have paid maybe a tenner for it, but 20 was too much considering it seemed like an all-right main event, but the undercard wasn't great, and the undercard we originally promised didn't end up materialising. This time around, almost regardless of the undercard, I think I'd be willing to pay 20 quid for it, because it's so much of a bigger fight now. Just because of what happened in the first fight, now there's real intrigue. Can Whyte come back? Is he going to be the same fighter? Will he be gun shy? Because if he throws, he might get countered. On the flip side, can Povetkin reproduce such a great moment? Will he need to be more consistent this time? Because for most people, Whyte had won all the rounds leading up, and Povetkin had been dropped twice before finding that shot as well. So there's a lot of unanswered questions. It'll be Whyte's second fight with a new full-time training team outside of Mark Tibbs. So that's interesting too. So I'm really looking forward to the rematch, and I will, I don't think he's eating my words, because I still think that on paper, the first show didn't look worth my 20 quid of my relatively hard-earned cash. But this time around, yeah, take my money. I'm happy to do so. But all in all, as a package, I think the autumn schedule, I think more will be added to it, but those 4 shows I think were pretty good. I think WBSS is an unexpected but pleasant surprise. I suppose all surprises are unexpected, aren't they? A pleasant surprise. The 2 smaller shows, the undercards, are probably better than the main events, but still, there are things on there worth watching, and there's no extra fee, so I'm always happy with that. A bit tight, obviously. And yeah, the Whyte-Povetkin rematch, plenty of intrigue there, and we look to see if Usyk-Chisora will be rescheduled for the end of October, and hopefully then AJ and Pulev will get on in December. So Sky are making moves. I know a few people out there have been disappointed that they're not taking all the international shows, or certainly haven't yet. As I said, they missed out on the Charlos, that big show, which I think is one of the best shows of the year so far. And we hope, if you're a Sky Sports subscriber, we hope that they get Teofimo Lopez and Vasily Lomachenko for or most of the lightweight titles. Apologies to Devin Haney for that slip. But yeah, I mean, if they don't, then it will probably end up having to be paid for, like Fight.tv or another online platform. You know, SecondsOut would be happy to put it on in the UK, but I can't see us being able to afford the rights fee for that one. But fair play to Sky if they do end up getting it. But as Adam Smith explained, and you'll see the full interview later this week, it's very difficult for them to make it pay as a business, especially in the current climate, to take shows from the US that don't go live with the main event until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It's just not viable for them, and I can completely understand that. So they might lose some of the hardcore boxing fans, but to make Sky Sports work as a model, the main thing they're looking at is casual sports fans. And I think the autumn schedule, particularly the White Povetkin rematch, will fulfill the desire on the part of that market. But let me know what you think. What did you make of Sky Sports and Matchroom's autumn schedule? Were you impressed? Were there things you would have changed? Let us know, and I'll respond to some of the comments. I'll be back next Monday for ReFLEXions. Apologies, and this Thursday for FlexPectations at 4:30. I apologise for the screen going a bit dark at the end of this recording. It's because my charger's not plugged in for my laptop. So until I switch it on, it will stay a bit dark. But yeah, only for the last bit. And I'll be back next week. I'll be back Thursday and then next week. And I'll see you all soon. It's a pleasure. Cheers.